Time is 8:17. The Valley's Morning News on News Talk 710 KQRV. Your station for Astros baseball is 710 AM radio KURV. Big thank you to the Mission Economic Development Corporation and Dr. T's Primary Care for Men and Women for Astros baseball on 710 KURV. Next time you go to HE Butt, take a look at the price of all those tomatoes coming in from Mexico. Chances are they might be a bit more pricey, maybe 10% more, maybe close to 20% more. Dante Gagliazzi, our friend, CEO, President, Texas International Produce Association, joining us. So tell me what went wrong in all these talks related to this, which eventually led to a new tariff, a new tax on tomatoes coming in from Mexico.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Sergio. So, yeah, what happened is on Monday, U.S. Department of Commerce terminated the tomato suspension agreement. It's been in place since 1996. And basically what happens now, Sergio, is all these tomatoes that come over from Mexico, right? We cross over 4 billion pounds. Those tomatoes all are going to have to pay a 17% duty now coming over. So that's a cost that's going to be added to the expense of tomatoes moving forward.
The demand is still there, so the product will likely keep coming. It's just you don't see any decrease in supply as a result of this. So we're looking at about maybe 20% more what we might be paying at the retailer. If it's passed on to us, that's another thing, right?
Right, but I think actually there's going to be a decrease in supply because this. Well, first off, you got to understand, 70% of the tomatoes we eat in the U.S. come from Mexico. Our fresh tomatoes, so we depend on them for a lot of supply. Now, what happens though is without this agreement in place, the importers handling Mexican tomatoes, they've got to pay that 17% duty on top of the value of tomatoes. Not all these produce companies have that kind of cash and liquidity available, so I don't think all of them are going to be bringing over the volume. We're going to see a very different landscape here for tomato availability.
Do you happen to know? I've never asked you this before, but do you happen to know what the margins would be? Let's say HE Butt, because I know HE Butt, right. HEB, and other retailers, they make money many times in their kitchen and the baked goods and the sushi and other stuff that they cook up for. They make a lot of money on that to try to make up for the very thin margins when it comes to purchasing a tomato and then selling it to us. Do you know what, when it comes to purchasing from the middleman and then selling it to us, you know what the margins would be at retail?
I don't. I could tell you about the margins that we see on the farm and the operations, and I can tell you it's usually less than 10%.
Okay.
It unfortunately tends to be a small single digit. In terms of retail, when they take it, like you mentioned, kind of back of house and they, quote, value add to it, right? They chop it up, they prepare it, whatever. Then I think they're able to put on a pretty decent margin, but straight on the shelf, I'm not sure, but I bet it's not terribly great either, which is why I'm pretty certain we're going to see some increases to those tomato expenses.
Okay, yeah, that's why I was asking. I figured they might be able to swallow the cost somewhere, but if it's a very low margin, and there were some other national reports when we were talking about eggs a few months back, the price on that, and how national retailers, one report said that the margin was only roughly 1%, I believe, when it came to produce and meats and things like that. They buy it, they get it, they put it on the shelf, they put it out there for consumption, but it's only like a really thin 1-2% margin at most for some of these retailers. Dante Gagliazzi, Texas International, he's CEO, president of the Texas International Produce Association, my guest. Are there other veggies or fruits, I don't know, mangoes, avocados, things like that, also subject to the tariffs here pretty soon?
Yeah. So over the weekend, the president made an announcement that he was including Mexico in these trade talks, and that if they weren't able to secure a deal by August 1st, there's going to be a 30% tariff on all goods coming out of Mexico. So, last year, Sergio, we crossed 24 billion pounds with a B, billion pounds of fresh produce from Mexico into the U.S. Avocados, mangoes, tomatoes, all these things. That's a 30% possible tariff slash tax that we're going to be looking at these things. So, we got to make sure this deal comes across. If not, all these fruits and vegetables are going to be a lot more expensive.
Would that be compounded? You got the 17% tax a
Yep.
tariff on tomatoes, and another 30%
Yeah.
on top of that, maybe. Wow.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
By when do you know, Dante? Might we see that?
Yeah. So the tomato situation, we started having to pay those duties on Monday, right? So the industry's trying to adjust as much as we can. Winter is the volume for those tomatoes, so our folks have a little bit of time, but we're trying to put our arms around that. In terms of this 30%, though, the president has said that by August 1st, Mexico, along with 20 other something companies that are countries that he sent letters to, they've got to have a trade deal in place with the U.S. Otherwise, they're going to get some sort of tariff increase. So we got about 3 weeks.
There have been a few announcements, like UK, Vietnam. I think there was another one, Indonesia. I think little by little they're falling into place. These new trade
Sure.
agreements. Is it the potential for Texas growers to benefit from new agreements near future, maybe from what has been announced recently, or maybe what's on the horizon, where we might have new markets for some of the fruits and vegetables here in the winter garden here in South Texas as well?
Sure. I mean, that's absolutely the hope is as all these trade deals are negotiated, we are joining other groups in many different business sectors, trying to indicate, hey, these markets have opportunity. For example, Japan and Southeast Asia, they're big fans of very sweet citrus, and our Texas grapefruit and Texas oranges
Okay.
are a perfect match. Our onions would love more access to other markets, but it's very tough to say at this point, Sergio. It really depends on each of those countries and the deal that comes together.
Dante Gagliazzi, CEO, President, Texas International Produce Association, my guest. How goes the growing season? Conversation with growers here in the area, also the
Mhm.
winter garden. How are things going? I know there's water
Yeah.
stress and other issues at
Oh
play.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So water is a big issue, but right now is the time of year when our folks start planting. Right, all of our fruit and vegetable growers in South Texas, really from Uvalde down through the valley. This is the time of year they're thinking about how many seeds they're going to order, the chemicals, the packing equipment, all that type of stuff, materials. And this is also the time they start negotiating contracts. What's challenging though, Sergio, is, and you mentioned it, is water, right?
Okay.
We know that due to a deal in April, the U.S. was able to secure payments of water from Mexico through October. The problem is we start planting in August, September, October. Our season really starts in November all the way through May. So we've got to have water the entire part of the season. So our growers right now are trying to figure out, do they have enough water? What's that forecast look like? And how much to order based off of all those projections. And it's difficult because, like I said, we don't know what that future looks like beyond October for water, which is why it's so important, some of these meetings that we're having with DC officials about securing the payments of water past October.
You may want to bring up, and something I had mentioned off air with you, how national meteorologist or friend Joe Bastardi had told us
Mm-hmm.
months back that it would be a wetter season in northern Mexico, and it played out perfectly. They did. They get a lot of rain
Yep.
in northern Mexico.
Yep.
Of course, we did as well in Texas, and we know how that turned out. But Bastardi says that might be over now. The next 6 months might be a lot drier in that region. So
Yep.
whatever it is that they got, and whatever agreement was made with Mexico City, I think we need to call the folks up in D.C. and tell them, hey, we got top experts telling us they got the water. It was wetter than
Mm-hmm.
expected. They have it.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time for you to, again, twist their arm and get them to release it. Make sure they pay it now because they're going to hang on to it. And don't fall asleep on this. Otherwise, we're not going to get that repayment that was promised to us and within the cycle.
Amen, Sergio. You're exactly right. And so we are having meetings with officials here in Texas, with IBWC, with the State Department, with our own elected officials for that very purpose. They have some meetings on the books in July and August. And so we are trying to impart on them just how important it is that, like you're saying, we secure those commitments and make a plan today while there's water. And we don't wait until we're in the same situation that we keep getting into where there's no water anywhere. And then you're trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip and it just doesn't work.
Before I let you go, labor issues. What can you tell me? Look, we got our Congresswoman, Republican Monica de la Cruz here in the area. She's pushing Bracero 2.0, international worker program, and trying to make it more flexible. What can you tell me? What do you know about this proposal? And I hope it gets some legs up in D.C.
Yeah, so this proposal is huge. Thankfully, the Congresswoman started working with our Texas growers, folks like ourselves, way back in like March and April on this. So she's been gathering information and ideas very specifically from our region for the last couple months here before she introduced this. So this bill is huge. Our folks are using this program called H-2A to bring in foreign workers, and it's really difficult to use this program. So her bill makes a lot of proposals and changes. For example, one of the things it talks about is being able for our farmers to use those workers on different farms. And that's huge when we have weather issues, right? So like when we have a freeze and there's only a little bit to harvest on one grower's farm, he's able to partner with other growers and use those workers there. Right now, that law doesn't allow for that. So this proposal is so big, and we're so excited for it and really anxious to see it move forward.
Part of the other topics of conversation for folks in D.C. Well, Dante, again, appreciate you always being a phone call away, brother, and you be safe on the road.
Thank you so much.
CEO, president of the Texas International Produce Association, that is Dante Galeazzi. The time is 8:29. This is the Valley's Morning News on News Talk 710 KURV. We invite you to join us for Astros baseball. Second half of the season starts on Friday. Who's up, Freddie? I don't have the sheet here in front of me. Who's up on Friday? Are they at home? They're on the road in Seattle, right? The number 2 team in their division. Okay, so go Astros. The second part of the season. Astros baseball made possible by the Mission Economic Development Office. Big thank you as well to Dr. T's Primary Care for Men and Women. Check of Sports up next.